Morning. Welcome to the Pick-A-Dee Pick Show. I'm your host and sensei, Anvil, and as always, I'm dedicating this to my boy Jerry. He's up there in the big playing field in the sky. So I thought, I really wanted to, I like teaching, and so I thought I'd teach you one of the strategies that I use. I mean, obviously, in fantasy football, daily fantasy football, one of the biggest strategies is a lot of tickets. That's a good strategy if you got the money. I don't got the money. So here's how I do it. You can read about your players, your streamers, your sits and starts, and your busts of the week from all of these writers. But at the end of the day, if they're right, great. Pat themselves on the back. If they're wrong, life goes on. But in the world of gambling, the casinos, the bookmakers, if they lose money. So they put money into research. The algorithms, the computers, the experts, all of the things that money can buy. They can simulate games thousands of times and come up with an answer. And that's what they do. And it's incredible how many times they're spot on or so close. It's if you've been doing this as long as I have, you would notice that. So one thing I like to look at here is, what does Vegas think about the game that I'm looking at? Forget about the players, the game that I'm looking at. And, they put out an over-under, which is, is the score going to be higher or lower than this number? They put out a spread, which kind of evens out the teams. Like if we're looking at one of the biggest spreads, it's the KC-Vegas game right now. The spread is 8. So they're going to give Las Vegas 8 points. Weird to say Las Vegas. Las Vegas 8 points. So if the Chiefs win by 7 points and you took the Raiders, you would win. If you took the Chiefs, you lose because you only won by 7, not 8. I understand most of you already know that. But there's a lot that can be gleaned from that. For one thing, when you're looking at the over-under here at 56.5, I have it at 57 elsewhere. And then you compare that to the Miami-Denver game, you're talking about 11 to 12 point difference. 11 to 12 points. Those are points that you could put in your pocket, your top shirt pocket right there, man, because those are valuable points. Those are points that you wouldn't get if you were in the other game, according to Vegas. So I like to look at some of those. Now, you sometimes you got to take it with a grain of salt. What they're talking about, the over-unders, for example, no, I don't necessarily believe that the Green Bay Indy game is going to go over 51.5. I think Indy's got a good defense, and I think they're going to try to slow down the play of the game, a lot more runs, more conservative play. I may be right, may be wrong on that. I don't know. But then when you look at something like, you're looking at the Dallas-Minnesota game or the KC-Vegas game, Vegas is somewhat saying, and when I say Vegas, I mean bookmakers in general. They're basically saying the defenses just aren't going to be able to stop either side. So it's going to be just a shootout. And that's where you want your players, right? I mean, you want your players in that shootout. So a high over is players that you would want. Now, another bit of information that Vegas, the bookmakers, give you can be illustrated by the Pittsburgh-Jackson game right here. So you've got Pittsburgh laying 10 points. I'm not sure what Arberger's going to be up to, if he's playing or not, but we're just going to assume that it's all full steam ahead with all of their players. So if Pittsburgh is supposed to win the game by more than 10 points, according to Vegas, at some point they're going to be up by a bunch. They might be up by 14, 21 points, right? And then at the end, there's some garbage time, and the spread starts to, center in on that 10. So do you really think Jacksonville's going to be using a heavy run game? No. They're going to have to throw. You see what I mean? Likewise, Pittsburgh is not going to need to send its speedsters out on dangerous routes because they're going to be able to dink and dunk their way up the field and score enough that they are going to build a lead. That's what Vegas is saying is going to happen. So maybe, Pittsburgh likes to use, they got Claypool. They've got Johnson, I believe, Johnson, and of course Schuster. And they've got their tight end Ebron. So you're looking at this and you realize, well, Pittsburgh's going to end up by a lot. So who are they going to fall back onto? Once they've gone through and built up their lead, they've gone through your receivers. We're not really sure who it's going to be, who's going to be the guy that scores the most touchdowns out of that receiving corps. But at some point, they're just going to go to a ground game. They're just going to try to run the clock out. They don't need to score, so it'll be a lot of Connor, Ebron. If they need to, maybe they'll stretch out the field a little bit to get a first down. But again, you might want to stay away from the receivers in that case, especially the ones that are dependent on those long, quick strike touchdowns. All right, so, I think you kind of get the idea. You can read a lot from what Vegas does. So based on that, we're going to choose some players now. We're hurting here, man, down to $3. I'm not trying to front here at all, man. I am who I am. I'm just a dude like you. I'm not some sort of rich professional. If I lose, I got to, put more money in. Now, normally, I always talk about framing your ticket, trying to make certain picks that kind of lock down your budget. And this is one of those weeks where, we're looking at some of the big names out there in quarterbacks. Why? Because I really want Mahomes. Now, obviously, Mahomes is the most expensive guy. Everybody knows this. But he is rested. He wants revenge over the Raiders, and the Raiders are decimated right now. They have some COVID issues, and they're not terribly great on defense. They're ranked 23rd, okay? So, you got to think about things like that. They're not a good defense. And Mahomes is wanting revenge, and he's rested. So I got to put him in. And that's going to cost a lot of money. We're going to have to figure that out as we go. The reason why I'm not going with Rodgers against Indianapolis. Indianapolis got a good defense. Hey, Bear, I don't know if he's really going to need to do a lot to beat the Jets. So I don't know if he's really. I mean, he could put up a huge game, but will he need to? Lamar, quite frankly, I'm starting him in a season team, and I like him, but I think Mahomes is going to do more. He's going to be the leader of the week, maybe by as much as 10 points. Roethlisberger against Jacksonville. I guess he is playing. Again, like we discussed before, I think it's going to go to a lot of run. I don't think they're really going to need the big plays. And I'm not really looking to save the kind of money on Brady. Obviously, we can't use Breeze because he's injured. So we're going to go with Mahomes. That, of course, is going to take a lot of our budget. And our second pick is going to take a lot of our budget. And that's going to be over at the running back position. I'm not really sure who else we're going to add to this list. But one guy that I'm positive of is Dalvin Cook. Dallas is allowing 5 yards a carry. 5. That's 2 plays and a first down. I mean, they are going to be able to go to the run, and Minnesota is going to be able to go to that run. If you're looking to save money, Matson, I can't pronounce names very well, but the second running back on Alexander Matson, the second running back on Minnesota, could be a value play because you'll probably see a lot of time. So if you've got him, I would use him in like a season long. I don't know if we'll need, we're going to put in Cook, so obviously we're not going to be using him. So now we're way down. So now we're going to go back down to the defense. I know. It's a crazy pattern. But again, this is where we kind of know we're going to have to spend some money. I'm not sure about Miami on the road. The KC, I don't think KC is going to need to do much. The Browns, they just lost Garrett, so that's not a great job. I'm using the Chargers in my season long, which it doesn't really scare me all that much. But again, Flacco, he's a bit of an unknown. Believe Bosa's coming back. That's good news. But we can save $100, and right now we got to save $100. The Minnesota-Dallas game. Minnesota is not a great defense, but I think they've got. I think they've got a chance to put Dalton into bad situations. I like that. I mean, we could take Pittsburgh, 5,000. They're the most expensive one, and again, that really starts to hurt you in other places. So you got to think like, what are you going to do? Is it worth the $500 to play the Chargers or the $600 to play the Vikings? And I think that's something personally that we could put on the back burner, put it in the old percolator, and maybe think about. Because I'm not going to save $200 playing Miami. I mean, Miami is good, but they're in Denver. I mean, KC, come on. We've already talked about that. That's going to be a shootout. And I'm not really sure how badly affected Cleveland is. So it's going to either be the Chargers, the Vikings, or the Steelers. So for right now, we're just going to lean on the Steelers. I do like the matchup. I think Jacksonville is going to be forced into some bad situations. And Luton is still, at least, I mean, he's an average quarterback from what most people are saying. But, you know, I think they'll be able to rip him. And I do believe that points at defense are important. They really are. A week ago I won because Chicago did so well in their Monday night game. I mean, that was the difference maker for me, my season-long team. All right, so now we got to get going on some other players here. Now, we already know we're going to have to save some money. What are we looking at here? We're looking at the $5,800 range. We don't really want to spend $5,800 on this, but obviously those are going to be some bad players. So we know we're going to probably have to rearrange this. But when you see Davis jumping out at you right there, playing the 32nd ranked defense, and they are defense. Detroit gives up the most points to running backs. But let's try to get a value play in there first to help us decipher. One of the players that I was looking at was Hines. This seems like a kind of situation where Indy's going to want to play conservative, and he tends to have some pretty big games. He's hit or miss. I understand that. But I think this is going to be a hit week for the guy. I think it sets up good for him. We're going to put him in. And then our flex, I think we're going to be saving our flex for another running back here. So let's look at our wide receivers here. Again, we're not going to be able to afford the best, but we don't need the best right now. We've got some guys down there. So, let's look towards our closer to our, here's one. Jacoby Myers, I have no problem starting him. Houston is their average at best, middle of the pack. I think he's going to have a big game. He's an emerging guy. Don't know who to trust there. Starting to look at, oh my goodness. I mean, they're going to be throwing a lot of ball rugs. He's going up against decent defense there. Mims. He's one of their only options, but come on. Here we go. Cool. Guy that was made on my list. Pittsburgh, 13th most points. They've given up a lot of touchdowns. And Jacksonville is going to have to throw the ball. So that's going to save us a grip of money right there. Building it back up a little bit here. Let's switch over to tight end and see what we're going to do at tight end. I was going after Kelsey originally because, boy, that would be a good matchup. But I'm going to save some money. I think the Pittsburgh-Jacksonville game is going to be heavy Pittsburgh. And I talked about Ebron. They're going to just dink and dunk. He goes in there. Now we're going to go back over to wide receiver. And we got to try to save some money here. Because we want that good flex player. So let's see what we can snip out down here. Taquan Smith, somebody I've been hearing a lot about. Snead is another one who he has a chance for a breakout. And, of course, I love putting a guy named Willie Snead in there. Come on, that makes your team better. Willie Snead, come on. And now we're just, wow, look how low we are here. I mean, we could take a flyer on a guy like Renfro, He could have a big game. I mean, you never know, but kind of want to find something just a little more conservative, possibly. These guys here, Gage and Cobb, are good flyers. But, I've been hearing Snead and I've been hearing Smith, and Snead's a little bit cheaper. And really, don't you want one? I mean, don't you want a Willie Snead on your team? Come on. Well, that's a classic name. I'm going to put him in there. And what does that leave us with? 7,300 for our flex. That's not going to really get us where we want to be. But, look at that. That leaves us, we're $100 short. Don't you hate that when that happens? But you know what? I like Davis. I think Davis is going to have a big game. We're going to put him in there, and we already know what we're going to do, right? Because we've already thought about it. We've already put a backup plan in there. We can't use Pittsburgh now. We can't. That's where we're going to save our money. It's right there. We already set ourselves up for that. We already looked at that, and we already realized, okay, we're going to spend some extra money there, but we know where we could save some money. We're gonna jump down from that $5,000 ledge, and we got to land on either Minnesota or Los Angeles. Look, man, I'll tell you this right now. Sometimes you got an A and an A1 and an A2, and you don't really know what to do. A wide receiver 1, a wide receiver 2, and you got to make that choice. Sometimes, if you can't really find that bit of evidence, you got to use the mysticism. You got to go with your gut or your heart. I hate the freaking Chargers, man. I live in Los Angeles. I didn't want the Rams back. They were like an ex-girlfriend that came back with a baby that obviously wasn't yours and said, hey, surprise. I ain't dealing with that. And then the Chargers basically did a punk move, man. They piggybacked on the Rams. I think they should have gone to Vegas. I give the Raiders, who I don't like, a lot of credit for taking Vegas. I think that could be a very interesting place to play. I have the Chargers going in my season long, but that plus the fact that I don't like them makes me think I got to go with Minnesota. Dallas is in a tailspin. So there we are. Look at that. We have $500 left. Now, we're not going to go try to spend that. Why? Because we got players we wanted. That's the simple answer right there. But we got a good ticket. I think we got a good ticket. And, we used some of the factors that we looked at. We looked at overs and unders. We looked at spreads. We let Vegas kind of give us some idea of what was going on. And we framed our ticket. We thought about this rationally. We knew that we weren't going to save on running back 1 and quarterback. We weren't going to do that. Statistically, those two guys have every advantage to be the top scorers this week. So we have to put them in there. We sacrificed that wide receiver. Sometimes that's what you have to do. We don't have the strongest wide receiving core. I'll admit that. But that's how you play this game. Normally I like to splash my money all around. I don't really like to go for the top guys, but because Vegas is telling me that KC game is going to have a lot of points, and because of Dallas's ineptitude at stopping the run, we had to do what we had to do, and we made it work, and that's what makes this game so much fun. You could put in your multiple tickets to win if you want. You do all your contrarian plays and all of that. But you know what? For the real, just the fun aspect of all of this, putting in a couple bucks on a nice solid lineup across the board, it's a lot of fun. And if you're going to win, great. If you're going to lose, then at least have some fun. At least enjoy it. At least spread it out. That's why I like having that Minnesota, especially, being on the late one of the late games. We've got KC in the late game. We got our main running back and our defense going together. So if you want to watch that Minnesota Dallas game, you got action on both sides of the field. Same thing with the Pitt game. You got a little bit of action on both sides of it, and I like doing that because it's enjoyable. Makes the game fun. I'm going to enter this right now. Boom. There you go. Well, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Let's look at our ticket right now. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. Yeah, I got a little bit of a soccer ticket going right now too. I think that starts pretty soon. But yeah, that's my Liverpool Leicester City ticket. Not really an expert quite yet on soccer. I know the game very well. I know the players very well, but I am still a little bit. I don't want to even profess it. I know what I'm talking about. But there it is. If if you want to watch the Liverpool game, there's a ticket for you. Bonus time. That game's going to be long over by the time this thing's posted. So, if it wins, maybe I'll post the ticket. If it loses, maybe I'll post the ticket. I don't know. Check back on my Instagram, DJ.Anvil, Pack Anvil. And, yeah, I guess I'll see you next week. Have fun.